That's really interesting, Tim, because Doug and myself, we've created, well, just exactly what you said. We found people on our channel who dealt with bullying, especially a lot of women in relationships and workplaces. So we're gaining a lot of interest on the bullying aspect, and that's just cool. You mentioned that. How did you yourself, because this is really similar to the guys going to the horse therapy, because they're going there because there's just something they're not dealing with, be it the past or be an experience they've had in the war, etc., relationships. Like, how did you deal with the bullying, just to jump on a sidetrack, as a young kid?
Um, I mean, I'd fight back, and when you get bigger and you fight back, then they're half afraid of you, I suppose. Um, but you could go through it for years, or I mean, I wasn't relentlessly bullied like some little small little kids, but I was a nervous kid and I had a stammer, and uh, but eventually you would hit back, and I think that my stutter and all that, it started leaving when teachers would take interest in you, and they got me to read slowly, and they would
Mm,
and the bullying would have kind of stopped when you would hit back, kind of. And so, and when you get confidence with girls in your teenage years and all that, uh things start going away. You just become more confident, I think. So I didn't get
mm. Yeah,
any therapy or anything like that. So
yeah, yeah, that's interesting because we interviewed a friend of mine from Australia. Um, he was a kickboxer in the K1 circuit. He was a champion back in that day, and then it transferred to the MMA. And he still coaches. Although he's got a couple of champions in Australia who are UFC fighters. And he said the same. Like when he was bullied, he said, "Look, He said, I fought all my life for a living." He said, "I don't condone fighting, but there's a time where your back's up against the wall, and you're going to have to just stand your ground sometimes, and fight back.
yeah,
Sometimes there is no other way out.
it's so
Um,
well. I agree with you. It's so true that, because even, I mean, I'm quite. I think there has to be a really good reason to go to war. And I think in the past, governments have sent young kids off to wars that make no sense at all. And so, but in some situations, like in the Second World War, you had to stand up to that bully, because you had to be violent against the Nazi regime, or otherwise, or the Japanese regime back then.
mm,
And I would be quite against wars in most situations, but you have to stand up to a bully, and that's all they respect, really. They will keep at you unless you stand up to them, which is sad to say. So,
yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah, and it's funny, isn't it? Like we look at animals. A lot of elderly people find, well, it's been proven that having a cat or a dog or some type of pet, that they live longer. And you have horses who, when you're around a horse, there really is something quite powerful about a horse, even when it's just standing there looking at you. Like you can just, and when they like you, it's just an amazing feeling when you're standing right by that face and those eyes are looking at you. And if there's something you do it doesn't like, just that little head will just whack, give
oh
you a
yeah,
bit of a whack.
definitely. And even when you're in sync with a horse, and you're going for a gallop or a canter up the hill or across the a plain or whatever, there's such a great feeling there, because you have to be relaxed to get in tune with the horse, obviously. So when you are
Mm,
when you are relaxed like that with the horse, and when all your troubles are gone, basically, because that's all you're
mm.
concentrating on. That's I think that's fantastic for everybody if they could experience it.
Yeah, and is there many, I mean, veterans that go down there regularly? Is it like a daily thing he has open or a weekend?
It's definitely open daily and on the weekend, and he takes veterans out there all the time. I don't know exactly the ins and outs of the operation or anything
Mm,
like that, but they often post, you know, oh, occasions when they go out with veterans, or they're celebrating the fallen soldiers or whatever, but
Mm.
and they're very much involved with the American Legion and veterans organizations. So how many times they take veterans out during a day or a week, I wouldn't know the details of that. You'd have to
Mm.
you'd have to contact them, obviously,
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned that. The American Legions, I think there's a building down there on just near the Hollywood Bowl
Yeah.
on Highland. I actually met the guy who's part of running the place there. He's actually getting off track of it. He actually does a bit of screenwriting as well. So we swap numbers. So that's interesting you mentioned that. They have movie nights and that there for veterans and people from the public as well.
Yeah.
I've never been in there. Have you been in there at all?
I haven't been in there, but I think, like, if you send young kids off to a war, you need to take care of them afterwards, and I mean, the government should be supporting these organizations that help
Mm-hmm.
the PTSD and help victims that maybe lost a limb or whatever. And I mean, if I was running the place, of course, they'd have a job for life. They'd have friggin' free housing, free health, and all that. But sadly, that isn't. So.
But you're right, Tim. It's like the guys that I've spoken to. A friend of mine who's nearly 70. He's a vet from Vietnam, and the trauma. I don't even know how he's still alive, and I say that respectfully because neither does he. He keeps telling me. I go, how are you, mate? And he goes, same shit, another day. But he's got he's got just a great energy about him. Like he's been dealing with cancer from Agent Orange for 40 years, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he's got other personal problems. He's got hernias, but you look at him and he looks really healthy. He's a very stocky, strong, really strong guy. And
Yeah.
he was involved in everything. He's a mechanic. He was an airplane mechanic. He's just so positive, but he's struggling with hoarding. He's got all this stuff from the war. He was head of the vets here. And that went sour, and he just can't get rid of stuff, and he knows it. But he's got tremors. Like I thought he had Parkinson's, but he had an artillery shell fell on his helmet when he was serving on one of the ships, and it was a 65-pound shell. Anyone else probably would have broke their neck, but he was a solid guy, and he's got tremors out of that. But he gets up every single day, and he's the kindest guy. He would do anything for you at any time of the day or night. But he struggles also, again, and not putting the VA down at all, but he just says there's just not enough help. He said it's a struggle at times for myself and younger guys to just get help,
Totally. I mean, yeah, I just wish people, if the world order just rewarded good people as much as they reward greedy people or whatever, my wife, she's starting to be a nurse, and she was doing her
Oh,
volunteer.
wow.
She was doing her volunteer work up in the Veterans Hospital, and she loves it, thoroughly enjoys helping people and being involved in that profession. And I think she'd be a great nurse. But nurses should be rewarded as much as doctors, nearly. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I've met quite a few people in that industry, and like the situation in LA is very much dealing with mental health. It's a struggle, man. Like as you all know, like with the homeless and a lot of veterans homeless, it's a real struggle. Doug, a couple more questions, mate. We've got about 5 minutes left.
Yeah, just wondering, Tim, where are you originally from?
I'm originally from the southwest of Ireland, in a little town called Tralee, and it's by the Atlantic Ocean. Next stop, basically, America. So if you got a boat there, you could travel from that little town without seeing any land, and land in America. So that's where I'm
Oh,
from.
wow.
That is cool.
In fact, in Tralee Bay, they use smuggle arms, the IRA, from Boston into Tralee. and outside Tralee, a little fishing village outside Tralee, Feenit, they'd bury the arms in Churchill graveyard, a little graveyard, and they'd send them up to the north for the fight against the British up there. But that was many years ago now. But it's funny that I'm talking to Andy here now, because I told them all those stories in Criminal Minds, and I think they called some of the episodes Valhalla or something. And
they did,
didn't they? That's based on
yes.
that's based on one of the boats that took arms from Boston to my town. So yeah.
Yeah, you're right. They did. They actually had. I distinctly remember that they named a couple of the episodes after that. And Tim was also. You're in Sons of Anarchy as well. Like I think I was in season 3. You came in a bit after that, didn't you?
Right, season 4. I think you're right, Andy. Yeah, that's so funny. The two of us, we've done those two iconic shows in a lot.
I know, right? And I had to get rid of this bloody accent and sound like you.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
That's funny, mate. That's funny. Well, look, Tim, we have come to run out of time, but look, honestly, this has been really great, because it's such a big stand that we're hoping to bring more attention to people via this channel and what Doug does and myself. And we'd really love to hook up with these guys and, maybe one day when you're down there again with them, just take a little bit of a video for us and send it to us, and we'll post it here, and hopefully we can get to catch up with these guys and, meet them. I can even go down and have a chat to them once we have a connection. That'd be great.
Oh, for sure. You should just contact them through Warriors Road or on.
Okay, right.
Yeah, and they'd love to talk to you. They're just looking for publicity for their program, So yeah.
Oh yeah, we'd 100% do that, mate. Because we're really grateful to every single person that watches this channel, which started because of Doug and his amazing journey. And it's picking up sometimes 30 or 40,000 views on mental health and things like that. So the more we get it out to people, the better, because it needs to stop being not talked about. It's got to be talked about. It has to be,
But there's no embarrassment. My mother suffered from depression for years. So I mean, during this COVID thing, I personally know 2 people that committed suicide. I personally know.
Tim,
one was a young
it's
woman.
heartbreaking.
Oh, terrible altogether, terrible. And it's not being talked about. That's the thing.
I know that's the whole problem, mate. It's not being talked about. We've had a few of my friends on here who run non-profits in Australia for mental health, and the amount of people that are taking their lives, it's just terrible, 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 terrible. And see, everyone's arguing about, don't want the vaccine, I don't want this, and yeah, but you're still here complaining. There's people that just don't even want to complain. They've just taken themselves out of the planet, and that's not even being talked about.
Oh no, I totally agree with you. I mean, there's all this noise with one side against the other side, and the real problems in society aren't even been discussed because it's not cool or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no, you're right, Tim. Yeah. Well, thanks, mate. I can't tell you how blessed, and really thank you for coming on. It's really great to see you, and hope I get to see you again soon somewhere on set. Things, thank goodness, are picking up. I think I'm heading back to Australia for some work, which is amazing. So,
great.
Just good to get back there, mate. And I'll never be a lead actor around you because you're just so damn good, mate. It just sucks.
I can't wait to work with you again, Andy. Anyway, myself. We'll have to think.
Hey, Tim, I've got to say one thing to finish this off. I'll never forget that time we were sitting in the audition together in the room.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there in the room's dead quiet, and you could hear this guy, all due respect to him, but he was just overdoing it. And I'm sitting there going, don't do it. And then I looked at you and you looked at me, and then we both burst out this under breath laugh. And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Don't take an Irishman or an Australian anywhere.
No, we're always laughing at people, but at least we laugh at ourselves as well,
I know, right? All right. Well, thanks again, Tim. I really appreciate it, mate. And you and your family be blessed and stay well and healthy. And yeah, appreciate you again. Thanks, mate.
Same here, Andy. Take care, man. Good luck.
Thanks, mate.